Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a sort of viewer responses type video. We'll do a Q&A and we'll go through how a lot of you guys felt about The Walking Dead Season 8's mid-season premiere. And spoiler warning, if you guys have not seen the mid-season premiere for The Walking Dead Season 8 yet, Episode 9, Honor, thought it'd be fun. You know, as per usual, we usually kind of do this where we go through and just kind of go through some of your guys' comments on how you felt about the mid-season premiere, because it was such a huge episode for The Walking Dead, being that it was Carl's last episode in the series, and you know, it was a pretty emotional episode, pretty sad episode. If you guys haven't seen, I did the review on Sunday, as well as my reaction to seeing the episode after just watching it. We already did video predictions, what we think is going to happen in episode 10, as well as we did one analyzing, sort of a breakdown analyzing the last scene in the episode with Rick, where he wakes up in the red-eyed Rick mode, which does not look like a dream. So if you haven't seen that video yet, or any of the others, I'll have them in the end video screen for you guys. You can definitely click any of those to see them after you're done watching this video. So surprising to me, because after watching the episode, before I saw any comments online or anything like that, extended episode, I thought it was an amazing episode. I thought it was packed. I thought you had all this stuff with Carl, his final moments of the series, which are going to be some that will be remembered, I think, for years to come, and will be part of the series that I do think, even in its 8th season, is a standout type of memory for the series. You know, you get a lot of things in episode 8 that it's like, these are some defining moments for the series, but these are some of the most memorable, you know, scenes in the whole show, you know, between Rick and Carl. I mean, years in the future, this would be an episode you could go back and watch to see, you know, Rick's final sequence with Carl, Michonne's final kind of lines with Carl, Judith, and her final scene with Carl, Daryl, the others. I mean, you know, I just felt like after seeing this episode that there were so many things in it that were memorable that, you know, that's something that should be appreciated in and of itself, because after 100 episodes, and these are hour-long episodes, they're not like 20-minute, 30-minute episodes. These are 42 minutes commercials, a lot of extended episodes lately in the last few years. Because they know we like, at least I like to get the extended episodes, that there was enough in this episode that really made it a special episode, I think. I really do think it was. And, you know, I was kind of surprised to see that a lot of people weren't feeling it. But I don't know if that's really the case, because after I saw it, and again, this is me fresh, right? Meaning that I hadn't seen anybody's comments. I hadn't seen anybody else's opinion. This was just my opinion after watching the episode, how I felt emotionally after watching the episode, how it impacted me as a viewer, and it was huge impact. It was like, you know, the saddest episode I think the series has ever done. You know, overall, right up there with, you know, some people think that Glenn, after Glenn is killed, and, you know, Maggie's reaction is the saddest part in the series, and, you know, for sure you can see that as well too. Everyone's kind of got their own, the Lori scene, you know, after when Rick finds out. So yeah, so I just felt like it was a really awesome episode, because in addition to that, they probably could have spent the whole episode doing that. If you look at the Season 5 mid-season premiere with Tyrese's death, they basically spent the whole episode on just Tyrese's death. It was pretty much, I mean, he's bitten in the episode, and he dies in the episode. They try to get him back. They had some hallucination sequences and some kind of dream sequences in this for him, and it was super sad. Another one of the saddest episodes in the show for sure. But they didn't have like another angle going on or something else happening, you know, at the Kingdom as well too. It was just focused on that, really, as far as my memory serves me. So in this episode, we get to see all the stuff that's happening there. We get to see all the things that are happening at the Kingdom as well too, and there was some great action as well there too. You know, this is definitely not, you know, this is not a filler episode. I didn't feel like. I felt like there was enough substance in the mid-season premiere that it really is a special episode. In addition to all that, you have Morgan's character, who's starting to kind of, he's got blood on his hands, proverbially, he literally has it, and also, you know, is that going to change who he is? So he's starting, you can see them starting to plant the seeds, and some people pointing this out as well too in the comments, in the review, in that he is starting to change as well too. Morgan is starting to kind of be hesitant, and you know, all of these kills that he's made this season, all of these saviors that he's killed, and he might have killed more than anybody else, they're starting to weigh on him, right? So we see that beginning. We see the start to Henry really filling that role of the comic version of Carl, I want to say, where he's still young. he's kind of very troubled. He has a lot of issues. And he's a product of the world more than the other Carl was. So you really divide that character, with the TV series version of Carl being more similar, I want to say, in a lot of ways to maybe someone like Tyrese. And the Henry character, really starting to take over as that comic book series version of Carl that we never really quite got to see in the TV series, just based on how things went, just based on how the story went through and what happened with that. Probably a lot of Chandler Riggs' influence in the way he kind of sees Carl, or just how it naturally came about. So really, I thought there was a lot of good stuff in that mid-season premiere overall, and I was really impressed with it. I liked it a lot. It definitely was not a disappointment for me at all. It was like, okay, we knew we were going to see some of that. I didn't think we were going to see Gavin be killed off in that episode, especially in that fashion. Seeing Morgan and Carol on a kill spree again. This season has more action than any season The Walking Dead has ever had. So for people like that, you've got that as well too. And, just with them not bottling things off in certain episodes now, you really get episodes that I think are really progressing the plot along. You have characters being killed off. You have different locations and different things happening with different groups here, and I think it really adds to the pacing, and it really makes these episodes better than if you just focus on only the Carl death in this episode like they did with Tyrese, and that's it, and you don't have other things happening in other locations. But not everybody agreed with me, so we'll go through the comments as per usual. Andrew Polich said, "Hey Trev, big fan of the channel and the show, but I can't lie to myself anymore. This episode was another piece of trash, like most episodes these days. When has anyone in any TV show or movie have an hour and a half death scene? Unreal. The whispers are the only hope to save this show." So Andrew didn't like it. And there was a lot of people that I saw with comments like this, or kind of felt that way. But again, like I said, they mixed in the other stuff at the Kingdom, which I thought was all great. To get to see Morgan and Carol in their kind of kill mode again, clear mode, was really cool. Saving Ezekiel, Gavin's last part in the series, Henry's development. So the death scene of Carl is not the only important thing there. And the other part too is, I have to question, wouldn't you want, with Carl being killed off, okay, it would have been, if they were going to do it quickly, then having it be kind of a Glenn type death where it's unexpected and he's just killed and then everybody kind of reacts to it afterwards. So that's one way to do it, and that would have been a crazy way to do it if they'd done like an explosion, had to be blown apart or something. That would have been unreal, right? In this case, Carl is killed off in the series, but Rick, it's not really the Savior's fault. It's not Negan's fault that Carl was killed directly. In addition, Carl kind of passes on this sort of empathy for other people, and even if they're not on your side, discussion of Woodbury and what happened with that, and kind of helping to try to convince Rick that he doesn't have to kill everybody and become that kind of character. So it kind of takes Rick back a little bit to the good guy side a little bit more. It has that kind of impact on him, that he's still a good guy in the series, and he can't just go around, annihilating everyone. That can't be the answer, even though sometimes he has had to do that with the, for example, season 6 with the Savior Outpost, when they just cleared the whole damn thing out, which was crazy to see, right? So, I feel like there was a lot of substance in the episode. It was an extended episode, and even though some people felt like the death was really drawn out, these are moments here in the series that, after all those seasons of seeing things go through, these are the final moments for Carl in the show. If they don't put it in here, you're never going to see it. So in a few years from now, if you go back and watch some of these episodes, or you see a lot of the beginning episodes, you marathon it through, these episodes here, this is a very, very important episode for the series, considering Carl is right at the forefront the entire series. From the very beginning, he's Rick's motivation. So, and then Rick finds him, tell it to the frogs, everything like that. So many great scenes throughout the show. Him growing up in the show. Don't you think he deserves to have, would you rather him have a little bit too much or not enough? I mean, in this case, I just felt like it was handled so well that it just made sense to give him as much time as they really put in this episode as they needed to, because it's it. After that, it's done. He's not going to have, he might have a hallucination sequence or something like that eventually, but really, I mean, that's it for Carl. And that's Carl. That's a character in the show that he's so important for the series. So if they're going to kill him off, doing it in a haphazard way, or in a way where it's not focused and it's not, given enough time and just blown by for sake of all-out war or whatever else is going on, it just feels like I would say that even if it was a little bit longer than it needed to be, these are the last parts in the series for that character, and getting to see him and Michonne and Rick and everything like that, or the scenes with Judith and Daryl and his last words to him, those are very, very important, lines in the series that I think will be one. It's a standout. It's a standout episode. It's a standout part of the series. And even in 8 seasons, they're doing some risky stuff here and there. This is a big risk in the series to kill Carl off so early. But so far, based on everything we've seen, it looks like it was done so well that I think it was. I don't hate the decision anymore. I feel like it was like, wow, you see that happening. You see Henry and what he does. So personally, I mean, of course you can feel however you want to feel about it, but I don't know. After seeing The Walking Dead for so many years and growing up with Chandler Riggs as Carl, I felt like they gave him the least amount that they could have given him even more time. But I felt like it was adequate, maybe a little bit over, but that's okay, because that's it. After that, you're never going to get any more time with the character after that to do lines or anything, to dialogue or anything like that. This is your chance, So that's just how it goes. To have that play out, and they did it, and certainly didn't feel like filler to me. It felt like substance. CAPT MOONBEAMS says that this was hands down the saddest episode in the entire series. Chandler Riggs, Andrew Lincoln, and Danai Gurira deserve all the credit in the world. I can't imagine the future of The Walking Dead without Carl. I see them planting the seeds with Henry. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet, though. Well, it's still early with Henry, and right away I can kind of see how, if you try to give a lot of this stuff to Carl, I don't know how well it would work. I mean, they could have done it, but he's... if you look at Lizzie, right, in the series, or in the comics, you have Ben and his brother. With these kind of very young characters, with these very young children, really, in the zombie apocalypse, as far as the horror aspect of it goes, there's something that's a lot more scary about a kid that's that young versus someone who's in their teenage years or young adult. Because Chandler Riggs, of course, pretty soon, a couple of years from now, he's going to be in his 20s, right? So it doesn't look the same as Henry when I don't know how old the kid is who plays Henry now, but if a couple of years from now he's like, I don't know, 10 or 11 or 12 or something like this, or 13, however old, those scenes feel a lot different with a 12-year-old than they do with a 21-year-old or a 20-year-old. It doesn't have the same kind of horror appeal or the same kind of horror feeling, which is why you have so many movies where you have, like, I don't know, Exorcist, Omen, all these different horror movies where you have those are really, really young, and it can be very scary. It's just a weird, psychologically, it can be very scary to take innocents that are very, very young like that and do horror kind of stuff with them. So, yeah, I mean, it's like, I can't really doubt them now because it just feels like it's fitting so well into place that it's like, wow, I'm kind of impressed at how well this episode kind of fit a lot of those pieces back in that we were missing after the mid-season finale, where we were really questioning a lot of the future of the show. It really is starting to look pretty natural right now. And also, for those of you who liked Carl in the series, you get to appreciate the character as being a heroic, good guy kind of character and not turn into what Henry is probably going to turn into, which is exciting to see for the future, I think. Punk Rocker for Life 9674 says, I cried about 2 times during the episode when Carl said goodbye to Judith and Daryl, and when he told Rick he loved him. And the Judith and Daryl scenes were also, I didn't really mention the review too much, but those were super sad for sure. But great at the same time. Like Daryl's last words to Carl, really awesome. And even though it's really sad, I just felt like, if anything, that was like the perfect thing for him to say and to define the character in that he gets to go out like a good guy. Not everybody in The Walking Dead is going to go out in that type of fashion. So it really makes Carl, I think, cemented as a very honorable and just, a good guy character. No matter what happens in the future, he will always kind of be, that type of character in the series, which is great. And this defines him in the end. In lines like that with Daryl help to do that, I think, and cement that in. House Stark says, hi there, Trevor. I just have to know what you think, or how you think Negan will respond when he finds out about Carl's death. How do you think Negan will find out? So glad my Sundays with you are back. So thank you, House Stark. And yeah, when Negan finds out that Carl is dead, he's not going to be happy. Of course, he's not going to be happy because I really feel like he did care about Carl and he did like Carl. So that's what it is. They were on opposite sides, but I feel like they really did have kind of a fun connection there. That Negan kind of respected Carl and kind of felt bad for him and saw him for what he is. And not really as like, just how tough his life has been. And so he's going to be super sad, I think. And I think Rick might tell him on the walkie-talkie. So that's going to be a great scene. And that might be in this episode 10. So we'll have to wait and see if Rick is the one to tell him. And Negan feels bad about it. But at the same time, it wasn't 100% his doing, I guess. It was at least, it wasn't like one of the Savior's, grenades or something that did it. It was... kind of just a random, zombie bite, which has always been Carl's thing. Carl refuses to stay in the house. He always kind of goes out and gets himself in trouble. And kind of that's what happened in this one. It's the same trait that he's done that all throughout the series. He's kind of gotten himself in harm's way too many times, and now it's finally cost him. Last one for this one will be from Ultraman, who says, what's the point of going to war if two characters can take down 30 people by themselves? But so with Carol and Morgan. But here's the thing, right? This is what it is. This is what I personally think it is. There's only going to be, and this is realistic too, I think, in that type of situation, there's only going to be a few people that really get good at killing people. There's only going to be a few. Most of the people that are in war here, even if they've killed zombies and they've done other stuff and maybe they've killed in the past before, a lot of them are going to be very hesitant to pull the trigger. A lot of them might freeze. A lot of them might, hold back. A lot of them might kind of tense up. And you might get a few that start to become really, really good at it, which is Morgan and Carol for the, and Daryl as well too, for the survivors. And that's what they have. They've become, I would say, really, really good at killing people, at aiming, at, pulling the trigger, and again, subconsciously, because a lot of these other characters as well too here, they might go in theory, be like, oh yeah, that's so easy to do, just kill two of them and that's it. But then you get down to it and you actually have to pull the trigger on that person, and what does that mean, and are you going to hesitate? And when you have a couple characters like that don't hesitate and are able to go in and they're kind of doing it to defend Ezekiel, they're doing it to defend Henry, and then you have the other saviors who they might not be 100% in for what they have to do here. They're just kind of doing what they're told, and they're not really prepared, they're kind of being caught off guard. The attacking group can have a huge advantage at nighttime when they're going in and they know the landscape better than Gavin's group did, and they're not expecting it, and they kind of get picked off one by one by a small group of people going in. I think it honestly makes perfect sense that you would have some people that do hesitate or do pull the trigger or are having a tough time pulling the trigger, and they don't know where this other group is. They're kind of being too loud. They're kind of letting themselves off. They don't know there's an attacking group coming in, and by the time they know it, it's already kind of too late, and also they don't know the environment. So, it's one of those, and I felt like it was really good, and, we've seen Morgan and Carol prove themselves so many times now, and we don't know these other characters they're fighting against, and, how many people they've actually had to kill themselves. So, even though they are part of the Saviors. So, that'll be it for today's video, guys. I hope you liked it, and if you did, as per usual, please thumb it up below. Check out the other videos if you guys haven't seen all those, and lots on the channel for you guys. Definitely check them out because there's lots to talk about after such a great mid-season premiere, and I'll have another Q&A for you guys probably tomorrow or the next day. Leave your comments below. That's it for this one. I'll see you guys again soon for another video. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. See you guys soon.